Kirill, thank you so much for joining the ZKAV Club. We've just been in the Decentralized Media Summit, where you made a presentation. Would you mind giving us just a quick bit of background on cybersecurity, professionalism and history?
Oh, well, yeah. I've been interested in the cybersecurity coming from a very special Russian hacking subculture, which is neither black or white hat explicitly, and this is a pretty worldwide known pipeline of getting into the field.
Right.
And then I've been in the crypto as a means of reaching the cypherpunk ideals, and I even have a funny story how I mined my block of Bitcoin in 2010 in the computer my lab of my university where I was doing masters in physics, and I was wise enough to sell it when it hit $30 per Bitcoin, and I purchased the laptop which I smashed in less than a year. So as you can also figure out that I'm really good at DeFi, I'm your investment guy, talk to me about that, I know ever.
Right.
Yeah, and that escalated gradually, and it ended up with Gav Wood hiring me to join him in 2017, and I've been full-time in the space ever since.
Awesome. That sounds fascinating. In fact, so I've recently talked to some OG Bitcoiners, and I keep repeating the point that if it wasn't for people like you making those early purchases and destroying your laptop, I don't think Bitcoin would be where it is today. Just that those early adopters doing what they did. So I guess thanks.
I sort of think that those early adopters didn't care about getting where it is right now, and I think that they care about some much more deeper things, and I actually think that we sort of lost it a little bit in the sense that we have some financialization capture, VC capture, how it happens everywhere. It is not necessarily the bad thing, but quite a lot of things you see overburdened VC-backed organizations left and right, and then they start doing what other VC-backed companies usually do, things of Ledger. Ledger is known to take quite a bit of VC money, and now they struggle to figure out, in my opinion, how to repay it, and this is why you have Ledger Recover and so on, that they sacrifice the self-sovereignty cypherpunk ideal for, okay, if this is a service, maybe people will be paying us $1 per month for using it.
To hold the private keys.
There should be a place for both, but there shouldn't be feeling in a space that this is the only way to go, and this is why I really enjoy, despite not sharing the actual ideology, I enjoy the emergence of a new next wave of blockchain socialists and other weird people. Yeah, so maybe the original cypherpunk ideology is more about keeping blockchain weird and running it as a large-scale social experiment.
Exactly.
And if you think about that, creating a not government bacon currency out of thin air is pretty much as far short experiment.
And
more of that.
It's an experiment. And you were mentioning the original cypherpunk ideals that started Bitcoin. Those were the early adopters. And at the moment, we kind of see Bitcoin, maybe it's been captured, and it's still so you're a cybersecurity expert, it's a fully transparent chain. So that means everyone's transactions, fully visible, it's a public database. And yeah, so maybe let's dig into this a bit. At the beginning, Bitcoin was meant to be an anonymous payment system. Now we know that it's quite the opposite. It could even be used as a surveillance mechanism. And so what are your recommendations for people to use? If we say journalists or even the everyday person, what would you say is an ideal self-sovereign payment mechanism?
I don't think there is one. I don't think there should be one. To backtrack and slightly nitpick on you, because I'm that kind of guy. I don't even think that anyone seriously claimed that Bitcoin is seriously anonymous, and they would use pseudonymous very early on. Not sure what Satoshi put in the paper, but that was clear that okay, some keys are long-term persistent. I think that's generally, this is the sort of naive thinking of what privacy is and isn't, which we've been like challenged on very hard with like not only the on-chain payments, but like with messaging, with like general communications, with all the platforms of our digital self-expression being like corporate and surveillance ridden, and there are like different rules theories why did the internet evolve into that direction, but in some sense, like, yeah, this is how we figure out how to financialize everyone really reading each other on the stupid like rage bait posts online.
Right.
So it is absolutely obvious to me that like maintaining privacy is maintaining sovereignty. It is like absolutely an imperative that knowing about you is a way to affect your behavior, and we see that over and over. Like even in non-political situations, we all know those like studies where like people were just drawing eyes on the side of a parking lot and people litter less because they had that innate feeling of being watched, which chills their effects.
Yeah.
And also like to some extent the whole like parade of extreme populistic polarization we see over the world is a part of that chilling effect, to my
Yes.
opinion, because you need to very explicitly call allegiance with one of the camps and you have nowhere to hide any nuance whatsoever.
Yeah, and I would even argue that it's the lack of privacy that is enabling these kinds of politicization, in which these algorithms are using the data being pulled from users to affect or tailor specific messages to specific people.
I would challenge you on that.
Okay.
I would say that technology is innately political, and like cryptography of all places is the most political of technology that ever exists, because it is direct applying math to reallocate power from one person to another. Nothing is more political than that by definition. There are like good foundational papers about like the moral nature of cryptographic research. I really like, for those viewers who haven't read it, like at least skim the abstract. This is like puts you in the perspective of like what we do. It's like not just like it is attempting to apply math to shape the power balance. And
I recently saw the abstract of that paper, The Moral Character of Cryptographic Work. Yeah, so if we could very quickly jump back to Satoshi. So when he put out the paper, or even shortly afterwards, he said, you know, if he knew that Bitcoin had this privacy problem, he said, if a potential solution, he said zero knowledge could be a potential solution that would work to improve it. And so, like, you know, we see Bitcoin failing to advance in terms of like, there's a lack of programmability, there's a lack of privacy, and so there are other projects like Zcash which has moved forward. It provides strong privacy, and so maybe we can link this into your talk, your presentation on messaging systems. Like, some people tend to believe Telegram is private, and some people tend to think Bitcoin is private. Do you have any thoughts on the sort of correlation between messaging payments and like how to select what's right for you?
like I would start with, I think that there is a very important distinction that people believe that Bitcoin is private and Telegram is private for different reasons, and for me that is a very like core distinction. And I have actually no records for people being duped by not necessarily honest founder, because like there is no way everyone out there, even like on the other side of the screen, to become enough expert in cryptography to call bullshit on their own.
Right.
So if you are scammed, it's scammer's fault, not yours. With Bitcoin, it's not so clear. And with Bitcoin, it is like, yeah, not super evident why it's stuck at the place it is. And it might be argued not that it's not moving not that it's moving slow, but it's moved too fast, and then it ossified because it gained the social momentum faster than it gained technological momentum of sorts. Once again, that's a wild speculation, and I think that if someone would put numbers and put up an article about that, that would be absolutely extremely interesting and maybe even like industry defying in some sense.
Yeah.
But nobody does that, so like that's like you take it as a word of a random guy on the internet.
Yeah.
I think that generally it is not necessarily equivalent to see like money transfers and messaging as like having the same security properties or requirements. To some extent, this is a continuation of that, like, the extremely neoliberal US agenda of like corporations have a freedom of speech and spending money is how they speak. That's like almost official political doctrine.
Donations, right?
And I think it's like generally contested, and we agree, like those of us who think about like longer term social impacts, not necessarily agree with this.
Okay.
So like not all, like me and you going out for the beers, that is almost speech. That is like as close to the speech as possible.
Right. But
Me donating $1 million to the certain like election campaign, maybe not.
that would be okay. I fully understand that, and in that instance, I fully agree. However, us being able to talk freely about what we want using a messaging app, freedom of speech. Us being able to go out to a bar and have a beer, we need to pay for the beer, and so like money, I believe is fundamental as well for freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Just like take for example. Or not.
Let me role play like a cyber socialist. If you know the founder of a brewery, would you get the same beers for free?
Would I get the beers? I'd probably get them for free.
Yeah, so like it is not a prerequisite. It is just like how we decide to organize our society. There are other ways. And I actually find it like it is super important to do research on monetary privacy. It is like absolutely exciting. This is like helps us bypass quite a lot of negative social effects. But at the same time, the equal importance, I think, is like using the other sides of blockchain to investigate other types of like cultivating the positive social behavior, which might not necessarily be bound to money. If you think about that, there are like only 3 ways to coerce people like to do something.
Okay.
And that is like, first is the force, and this is what governments are good at. Like they will send armed guys at like your place if they don't like you especially much.
Yeah.
Then there is money. Like I can pay you to do what you don't like, but you say, okay. And then there is a reputation. That's like less obvious social fabric, which still like make you choose doing good if you are not like threatened or directly pay for that.
Yeah.
And I think that we under-investigate what is possible with that. And that also needs to be privacy preserving. Like privacy online, like cryptographic, zero knowledge derived things and so on, they're not only for the financial transactions. Like it is like you give a full like notebook and they write down who owes the money in it. And if you get a wise person a notebook, they write poetry in it. So like maybe we need a little bit more poetry. Maybe we need a little bit more like weird also privacy preserving systems which help our society stick and like enable other ways of recognizing contributions and so on, because not everything is GDP.
Yeah, one of my favorite examples is so Rarimo allows you to create a proof that your passport is valid and it comes from a certain well, it's been signed by a certain government, so you have a certain nationality, and they use it to like have privacy preserving protests where you can say this number of people agree with this protest or with this, or have signed. You know, when you sign like a what's it called, like a petition. Yes, when you sign a petition, and so they do it with their passports, so it's like verifiable, and it's been done. That's one of the cool new things with ZK that's come out.
In some sense, yes, but maybe this is also like what makes those petitions in particular teethless. Like I really think that we need those like huge ring signatures of the passport owners and so on. We need like to use and abuse the existing nation states ID systems to bootstrap at least some resemblance of online identity, but I don't think that this is going to scale well and worldwide. And at the same time, like, yeah, as like someone who cannot longer visit like homeland on political grounds, I think that important thing about protests is the ability to coordinate and take risks and do that on a large scale in the mid space.
Yep.
So like, unless we do much more subtle, clever governance ideas, which are also enabled by this, like both privacy to held your beliefs and like support the activities which align with them.
Yes.
Those are probably like not going to go very far.
Yep.
So we cannot just port existing structures on chain and call that a day. We need to use the unique tooling which is given to us to try to build a better one.
I fully agree.
It is like voting, like one person, one vote is a very offline-ish concept. It is, we are conditioned to think that this is the most fair, the best decision making in society, but like in practice, it holds you very much hostage on like who government thinks earns and doesn't earn the right to vote, for example.
Yeah.
And then the like, yeah, who also counts is a big question and so on. And like, if you bring that to on-chain, like either you still hold like voting still the hostage of the same governments who can issue and revoke those like online credentials to be entitled, or you have to be clever and you have to figure out the better way to account which doesn't require everyone to only have one equal vote. And then we need to have a very robust philosophical framework how to keep that fair.
Yeah.
Like, is that merit-based? Is it like, what is our society? And the only way I think we can do that is building very, very many, very, very different, absolutely like wacky ideas and see what like gives us results we want. There's so much to be gained in there. And there's so much to be gained in there now that we have like credibly neutral computational fabric, which we can, in a very low effort,
Fully transparently.
not necessary, like, but important for me is like the cost of experiment goes down. Like everyone has access to that computer, and the degree of transparency there is just like, yeah, it's a year of engineering work to probably design something which suits your needs and uses zero knowledge or like other privacy preserving systems. But I think that there's like quite a bit of an opportunity space in there which haven't been even thought for. So like, if I would encourage your viewers to do something and they're excited about like zero knowledge privacy preserved tech, I would encourage them to think about like, how would they run a local library that way, or like how would they organize a international coordinated protest, not like specific to a single country, because we have like all our like the same global problems, and we have absolutely no global movements to counter them.
It would be so much more interesting if, yeah, if it wasn't just a protest like from one country, but like all these people from around the world agree with this one thing.
Yeah, and like that is what consensus in some sense is. So like, those are consensus engines. They provide, like, they force hundreds of thousands to millions of like people who don't know each other to trust some common ground and common agreement. And like, so far it is mostly like who owes how much money. That's stupid. We have so much more important problems in the world. Like, let's apply the same thinking to there as well. And it's good that money is like spearheading this effort, because the feedback loop is very clear. Like, if you fuck up, you're out of money.
Right.
And this is like, nobody likes that.
Yeah.
But with other societal technologies, like if you fuck up, maybe like 10 years from now, you have a really like bad scientific decline in your community or something like that. We'll see, like in US, like they do that right now as mistake.
Yeah. So yeah, you said money is spearheading it. And so, yeah, I would just like to, during your talk, you said it takes two to tango.
Oh.
And when you said that, I think like the context around it was the people that you know, the people that you interact with, you need to be advising them and telling them like what's, useful, and what you probably don't want to use Telegram. So yeah, we're the ZK AV club. We're big fans of zero knowledge cryptography. And so like, just for the viewers, yeah, there's private payment system and it's like Monero, and many people think that it's like fully private. But in fact, there are like several attacks, possible attacks that could be leveraged against it. And there's no perfect privacy payment system, but like if your threat model requires you to have like really robust privacy, I think that it would be my recommendation to research it. That would be my recommendation. On the topic of security and privacy, you have a project or a company.
Yeah, so like I run that like tiny like Cypherpunk lab in Finland, which is weird because I'm in Berlin and the lab is in Finland, but this is how things work in the modern world.
Right.
And yeah, like one of our projects is we are building hardware wallets, and those are fully open hardware and open software.
Right.
And yeah, so like
E-paper?
yeah, it's a touch e-paper screen, and like it doesn't require any wires or any batteries, and like you put it behind your phone, and that's everything it ever needs to power up, because it gets all the energy from the NFC. So I put it behind, and like
Wow.
it powers up. This is a dev kit, so like you have a stupid like testing firmware, but like you can at least play Tetris in it.
It doesn't play the music.
No, because like being able to produce sounds would allow you to leak the secrets from it, and we definitely don't want that.
Very true.
So it doesn't speak radio waves despite being NFC. This is like why this is like detachable, and like you can see that it's air gapped. And this thing is radio silent. It cannot speak NFC. It doesn't have an NFC chip.
Very
Just
cool.
passively eavesdrop what your phone speaks to this tiny like corner thing. And how it works, like you author your transaction maybe on the phone, you put it behind, then like you see the transaction here and here, you type in the PIN code, and then you have a QR code which you show back to the phone camera. That's the only way any information can ever leave this device.
Awesome. Yeah.
For this to work, we need two things. One is very like engineering specific and technical. We want this to be a credit card shape, because this is like if your bank is smart in the sense that it can like safeguard you, you can have that dumb credit card which you have right now in your wallet. If your bank is a blockchain, it doesn't care about where you spend money and how. Your credit card needs to be smart, and like you need to know what you're doing. This is what it is. And to do that, there are like stupid engineering problems of touchscreen and in antennas not playing very well to each other, because they function on the same principle. So we need to like be more clever to wrap it around and make it credit card's footprint.
Right.
And another problem is that most of the blockchains don't actually care about end user security to some extent. And they don't provide you a framework in which you can verify that the transaction you've seen on this device is exactly what you intended to do.
Yeah.
Like Ethereum is like probably the most obvious offender, but like
just get like some huge lump of text and it's like all code, and for the average user, they just click confirm.
For this to be useful, it needs to always clear sign, always show the intention. And that intention needs to be verifiable then by chain, which is a complicated part. So we are currently like working on figuring out how to do that on EVM-based chains for Ethereum. It is like clearly easier for the chains like Bitcoin or Zcash, because they have a very limited amount of options which your transaction can like provide to you.
Yeah.
So that can be hard coded, but for more programmable chains, it's hard. And hopefully, like just like follow up the announcements from us or from Ethereum Foundation, we are hopefully going to pull up a really like sweet project with some names you all as cypherpunks should recognize in the space to make that happen.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, so like I've done some, digging around with hardware wallet security, and you're completely right. If it's got USB, you need to be sure that the USB.
Oh, they're Bluetooth now. Like, shut up. Like, how can I be sure that the wallet which speaks some unknown radio waves to anyone who is willing to listen is not stealing my secrets? And there is like, even if it's very, very open source security design-ish, you are not verifying your firmware every time you sign, right?
Yeah.
What goes in, what goes out? Like, I've been in the audience when one of the Chaos Communication Congresses, people shown how they launched an unauthorized snake game on a Ledger device, despite Ledger being very meticulous about checking signature of every software which goes in there.
Yeah.
those software bugs, like once again, Ledger security team is one, like Dungeon, like I respect them so much. They're one of the best in the space. Even they sometimes make slip-ups.
Yeah.
And this is why using physics to our advantage
Yes.
is the only way we can absolutely exclude things which we don't want to.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it's been super great having you on. We discussed many topics. If people are interested in learning more about your hardware wallet or your
it's
research,
called Kampela. Kampela is a Finnish flounderfish, which is flat and has ink on one side, which is also the topic. And the website is kampe.la, so they can go and check it out.
okay, kampe.la, L-A.
Yeah, and we already have like in-house small batches production, but you need to understand the limitations that the firmware currently supports a very, very select subset of chains because of the clear signing issues we need to resolve.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.